Update 5. I think my husband fathered his best friend's children. Hey everyone, this may very well be my last update for a while. I'm in therapy now, as are my children. And, from what I hear, Amy's children are as well, so that's good. So I should probably be focusing on healthier ways to expel my feelings. Nonetheless, I have talked to my therapist about these posts, and according to her, venting anonymously online can be healthy, up to a point. If I do talk about my life again, I may do it in different subreddits or something, I'm still not sure. I have also met with the judge now. Many were worried about how these posts might come back to bite me in the ass, legally speaking. The short answer is that they won't. The long answer is that because they're anonymous, there's technically no risk of defamation or slander. I've changed enough of the meaningless details and given everyone fake names. The posts aren't going to be relevant in the case, and I'm clear to keep writing them if I so choose, so long as I don't discuss the details of the actual case itself. Though I think the judge would prefer I just stop writing these altogether, one of the reasons I may do so. Without divulging the specifics, I went ahead and reported what I had learned, and all hell broke loose. I knew I had to do so, because Amy and Luke had changed gears after Jim passed. They began to make the case that Luke and I had always had an open marriage. That there could be no such thing as an affair, and any instances of Luke sleeping with Amy could not be counted against him. It is no accident that they chose to do this after we lost Jim. As far as I can tell, he was the only other person who knew about what Luke and Amy did, and would have done something about it. Now that they don't have to worry about that, I think they wanted to claim I always knew about the affair, and that it was no true affair. When I didn't report them, they must have assumed I didn't know the truth, and they changed their story. But I knew. I reported it, and now they're fucked. Which unfortunately means everyone else found out. There was no way the children wouldn't learn the truth through the grapevine. I told Sophie and Tom personally, because I figured they would learn of it anyway. The others did. Tom was pretty shell-shocked. I know I'm just the messenger, but I felt terrible and I wanted to comfort him, but there wasn't a whole lot I could do. Poor Kaylee did not handle it well. I'm told she had several meltdowns, and then tried to run away. I know she tried to run away because she came to our house for sanctuary. And literally, I had to give her back. I knew all the reasons I had to, but I was sorely tempted to give the middle finger to all of them and let Kaylee stay with us against Amy's wishes. But no, I had to relinquish her, and honestly, nothing has been harder than that was. I know it isn't my fault, but I still feel like I betrayed her. Sophie's also been dealing with a lot of anger toward her father, especially after he and Amy forced Kaylee to come back to stay with Amy again. All of this. It hit Sophie and Kaylee the hardest. Luke wanted to see Sophie again and she refused. She wouldn't come out of her room. Technically, I was supposed to let him see her, but she's 15 years old. I told her to come out of her room, she wouldn't. So in my book, I tried. This was after Kaylee's incident, so when Luke pressed me to force Sophie out of her room, I'm not proud to say I shouted at him to leave. My blood was boiling by that point. Throughout all this, my soon-to-be ex-husband and his affair partner are still acting like I'm the bad guy. Luke and Amy are angry with me, and that's putting it lightly. They have no right to be, but they are, or at least they're acting angry. I now have a restraining order against Amy because I was quite certain she would confront me after the fact, and she did. After I reported them, and before Kaylee came over, Amy came to the house while my kids were home, banged on the door and screamed. She was furious with me for what I had done. But I don't know what she expected me to do. I called the police, but Amy was gone by the time they showed up. They were just as useless as last time, to be honest. When Kaylee came to me for asylum, Amy came after her, but I wouldn't let her in until she called the cops herself. I would only let one of them take Kaylee. Amy was not setting foot in my house. I was very clear to explain the situation, but it didn't matter. Amy later smeared me on social media and framed me as a kidnapper. I set the record straight without divulging too much about the circumstances of the situation, which I was tempted to do. Luke also gave me the lecture of a lifetime when I saw him, but I just kept cutting him off and spitting the facts in his face. I don't know if it's been my time away from him, but I'm learning to recognize his bullshit now, where previously I fell for it every time. He always sounds so reasonable and sweet, but what he's actually saying is often circular and evasive. Honestly, I am so angry with him for what he's done to his children, all of them. Kaylee especially. I want to adopt that girl. I know I can't, but I want to. Kat and I had a long talk as well. So far as I can tell, she didn't know, and she's genuinely sorry for her earlier deception. Trust takes time to rebuild, but I also understand that she was in an awful position. But now that certain things have come to light, she's kind of in shambles herself, so I pity her. Not to mention, if Amy loses custody of her children, and she very well might, I'll need all the help I can get. I can't take all of them in. I don't have the space. Kat will need to do some of the legwork, so I'm trying to give her the chance to earn my trust back, sort of out of necessity. I can't speak to the long term, but if all goes as it should, Luke's not even going to be getting visitation of my kids. We'll know soon enough though, and it will be on record, if Amy's children were fathered by him. All I know is, they've always been quite certain Kaylee was, though they never had her tested. So far as I can tell, Amy hasn't really been intimate with anyone other than Luke for a long time. For the record, Kat is still supporting Amy financially, and by that I mean, she's supporting Amy's kids. I don't mind that. If Amy loses custody, that all goes away anyway. As to the how and why of Luke and Amy getting together, from the letters, I've put the pieces together as best I could. Amy was sexually abused as a child, and Luke was apparently the only person she felt safe exploring her sexuality with when they were in high school. It was a very bad idea, and they both knew the reason it was a very bad idea well before they made that choice. As to the lie about them being surrogate siblings, apparently they always did have that kind of relationship emotionally. But they also did this. After Tom was born, they also believed Tom to be theirs. Going off the letters, the bond took on more romantic aspects as well. Amy describes Luke as my person, and he says the same about her. I did read the letters in more depth for as much as it sickened me, I wanted to understand. I'm doing better overall though. Personally, I'm doing better. Which makes me feel kind of guilty because nobody else is. My kids are miserable, which makes me miserable, but I know there's light at the end of the tunnel and I want them to see it. Luke and Amy are miserable, which, honestly, I'm not gonna say I'm glad about, but I don't know what they were expecting. They've been playing a monstrous game for decades. It was always going to have consequences sooner or later. Amy's kids are miserable, especially Kaylee. I wish I could reach out to her again, but I absolutely can't except through Tom, and he needs to play this carefully. Kat is miserable too. We're all still reeling from the loss of Jim, and honestly the Kaylee incident really tore my heart in half, but I think I'm over the hump and am taking comfort in how I'm actually choosing myself for a change.
What's OP saying in the comments section?
You're right. A CPS report is not something you do lightly, and I still wonder if I did the right thing. I will probably always wonder. But, under the circumstances, it was warranted. Luke and Amy having children together at all is grounds for those children being taken. Because Luke and Amy are siblings. Screw it. Everyone figured it out anyway. Amy's mother was one of Jim's students. He was a professor. Luke and Amy are half-siblings.
Good golly. That was a lot to handle. How you doing so far? For some background information. And on why Amy and OP's ex could be going to jail. And will most likely have their children taken away. 48 of states in the United States criminalizes incest. Just as a reminder, there are 50 states in the United States of America. 2 states do not criminalize incest, while one prohibits marriage but not sexual relations between 2 consenting adults. And it would see that OP is not in any of those 3 states who have decriminalized incest to varying degrees. Now it's your turn. Do you think Amy deserves to have her children taken away from her? Do you think OP went too far reporting them to CPS? Do you think incest should be criminalized to the point of people being put in jail and having their children taken away? What do you think about OP's Phil? Do you think none of this would have happened if he had been honest with his wife? Do you feel bad for Mil? The children. What would you have done in OP's position? Would you have allowed it to go on as long as OP did? Do you think she was in denial about Amy and Luke's relationship? She's spoken about the disrespect she observed at length before. Do you feel bad for OP that this is how she was treated and used? Or do you think she did it to herself by willfully turning a blind eye to everything? Do you think this will be last of it, or we'll get more from OP down the road? This is Petty Honest signing off for now. Meow. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and all that good stuff. Don't forget to leave your honest thoughts in the comment section below. We love a good juicy thought.